Hey, welcome everybody to Anxiety Unraveled, brought to you by the Anxiety Resource Center out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, with virtual support groups and help for those struggling with anxiety all over the world. And I am Mike Maddox, your host, and I bring you this podcast because we love to talk about how do you combat anxiety? What can you do in your life to overcome acute anxiety? And there is help and there is hope. And we talk to people who are involved in it, who are in the struggle, in the arena. And I'm really, really happy to have my guest today, Pieter Winne, fellow US implementer. Pieter, welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
So tell us, Pieter, go through a little bit of your background. I know a little bit of it, but for our listeners, you're an EOS implementer today, but you weren't always an EOS implementer. But tell us about your background and how you came to do what you do today.
Sure. I'm an old man, Mike. How far back do you want me to go?
Give us the abbreviated version. I have the same
Well,
problem.
it's really important with me, as you know, you've spoken to me before. You got to give me a little, abbreviated. From upstate New York originally. Born in a small town, was the youngest five. Lost a couple of my brothers in 1973, in separate car accidents. So it was kind of a,
Wow.
um, for me, I was 11 years old, and it definitely had an impact on me, and more me as much so just watching what it did for my to my parents and the rest of the family. So that's a little right from the heart, totally very
Yeah,
personal.
yeah. That's
So now,
I did not know that,
that's,
and I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah,
Go ahead.
it's probably it's things happen to us in life, right? And it's how we overcome whatever we do with that. College wasn't for me. So right after high school, college wasn't my thing. I seed my way out the door, as I like to say. Um, was my thing. So I joined the military, and basically, ultimately, I served in a Second Ranger Battalion. Went through the selection process. Served in the Second Ranger Battalion out in Fort Lewis, Washington. Total, I was a M60. I was on an M60 machine gun team, right? So I was an infantry guy, jumping out of airplanes, having a lot of fun. Um, walked with a walked with a lot of really, really American heroes. I'll say that. The people that I served with, I get chills thinking about the things they did. Some of them before I joined, and some of them after, after I had been gone. It was a really great pinnacle experience for me. Um, really taught me a lot, in life. It's about, you set really big goals for yourself, right? And you drive and you don't quit, and you just keep that passion or that you right that keep that in your sight, that you can achieve so much more. So that, like from a personal thing, like I was a skinny little kid when, before I was a ranger. I could run, but I was a skinny kid. I mean, it was quite an experience to make it through that,
Oh, I
serve,
bet.
but God, I mean, I was the least of them. I will say that, right? So
You're being humble.
I walked with them, but no, it's probably for real. We probably say it too, honestly. Uh, and then you add to that, and you say, okay, so you get a group of men at the time, and I know that's so much changed over the years, but you get a group of individuals that are so driven and so focused on the mission and so focused on getting shit done. Sorry to hopefully I'm
Yeah.
offending. That's right. But he's so focused that you can accomplish so much more, right? So individually, absolutely. But when you get a team of people doing that, Army Rangers pulled off some really cool stuff. Like from today's D-Day, by the way. So anniversary D-Day. So just, but that, right? And if you research it, my old Ranger Battalion, Second Ranger Battalion, climbed those cliffs at Point de Hoc back, that many years ago in World War II. Um, you can accomplish so much when you surround yourself with incredible people, and everybody's driven to accomplish a mission. So,
Amen
uh,
to that. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that had to be, I mean, how much more valuable? It's so interesting that you chose the military, knew college wasn't for you, but what you learned in the military and then ultimately becoming a ranger, I mean, invaluable. And then I'm sure a lot of that applies to what you coach teams on today, like the lessons you learned of being focused, being driven, being unified, being open, mission oriented, values oriented. Like all this stuff is like embedded in you. You have to have that as a ranger or a special forces guy. Business teams need that too.
Absolutely, absolutely, definitely is applied. So, yeah, so I did go back to college after serving, actually a tech school, um, and learned how to fix computers back when you soldered things. So don't ask me to fix now.
Yeah,
It was a little different back then, right?
yeah,
Uh, hired into this company called IBM, if you've ever heard of that one, right?
yeah.
And a great journey there. Without a doubt, I spent 20 years at IBM. On the service side, on the the repair side of IBM, and either in first as a technician and as a field manager, and then as a staff manager, right? So eventually led IBM's service education side of their
Okay.
business.
Yeah.
So at that point, I would say is where I really developed my and hone my skills on adult learning, right? And how adults truly learn and, how to coach people to get more. And, that's where I really developed a passion for the classroom, right? For an adult classroom. I did some Sunday school teaching and found out, yeah, maybe not the grammar school kids. It probably wasn't for me,
So
right?
wait, you taught Sunday school?
Oh,
So and I don't question that because of questioning anything about your faith. It's just I know you and I know your language sometimes. I'm just wondering how you kept that in check in Sunday school, dude.
Yeah. I have discipline, so I can't keep it in check if I choose. So
That'd be-
I can even keep it in check with a client or two, but
yeah,
to the point. But yeah.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so it's 20 years at IBM. What I didn't realize back then, because like I was an entrepreneur as a kid, and I had a lawn mowing business, and it actually scaled it. My brother's business. When my brother had died, I was 11. I'm like, I need to go. He had a lawn mowing business that my oldest brother had started, and just in the town, right? And they had a bunch of lawns, and I'm like, I gotta go. I can't let the family business down. I gotta go out and mow those lawns. And I told him I was a skinny kid, so I was a skinny little 11-year-old. I couldn't push the mower up the hills. It's upstate New York. I couldn't push the mower, so I'm backing it up, trying to make it work. And I don't know what that lawn looked like when I got done. Really, I got my $1.25, so I
Yeah.
was. But I learned that, and it's like, I needed help. So I hired a buddy of mine who was this big kid. He mowed the hilly ones, I mowed the flat ones. And, we ended up with probably eight kids working, for it.
Wow.
I got my 25 cents a lawn whenever, I'd be the door knocker. And so, yeah, it's like, I didn't know I was an entrepreneur, right? Sold illegal fireworks. Don't come back after me. I think the statute of limitations is.
I think it's long past. Yeah.
I think I passed that, so I think I'm good there. But I didn't know, like, hiring into IBM, that I was an entrepreneur. I didn't know that. It's like we didn't have that language back then. At least I
Right.
don't remember ever it being presented to me. I do remember my instructor through the technical school I went to said, "Yeah, Peter, I'm really surprised you're joining IBM. I don't think that's. I'm shocked." And I had no idea where he was going or what he meant by that.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a struggle. I mean, I was very successful,
Yeah.
but it was a struggle, and it was often I wanted to do my own thing, and wasn't always able to do my own thing. So, um,
Yep.
so after IBM, 20 years there, left IBM, joined a smaller entrepreneurial company out of Grand Rapids area. So I talked about it, Grand Rapids. Was part of their leadership team. We grew from 20 million to 120 million in the course of 9 years I was there.
Wow.
Couple sales to private equity, and it's kind of like, okay, time for me to move on again. Um, and at that time is where I found EOS. So when I was leaving there, and my intention was to do leadership development training because I'd been doing that. I did it at IBM. I did
Yeah.
it at the company where I would take a book and I would R&D that book, right? Rip off and duplicate, right? So I'd take a book and I'd take all the key learning points from it and teach that book. And that was going to be my business model, actually, is to talk to a business leader and say, hey, what's the best leadership book you ever read? And they would tell me it's Good to Great, or it's, John
Yeah.
Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, or whatever it happened to be. And the intent would be, I've written a lot of courses, so I have content, but that intent was, I'll write some content, I'll deliver it to your leadership team, right? And rinse and repeat. Um, the first business owner that I knew would do business with me, I called him, and he's actually in the EOS Life book, by the way. So he's actually, so I'll give you a little bit for that. But so I called him. Eric Lindsay is his name. He owns Nightwatch Securities. I called Eric. I said, Eric, I'm in business for myself. And he says, Peter, that's so cool. Are you going to do it out of the barn? And I'm like, well, I don't have heat and air yet, but that is the plan, right? So he knew me and kind of knew what some of my aspirations were. And I said, I'd really love you to be my first client. And there was a pause. And I'm passionate about things. I think you can see that, but I don't know what, from a sales perspective, what am I supposed to do when you kind of say that and they pause them? So I said,
Yeah. That
so are you,
silence.
and he goes, Peter, I would definitely do this, but I'm into EOS. And then I
Huh.
said, what the, and I
Is
did
EOS. Yeah.
it, right? Not what the heck is EOS? I'll say that. Oh, there is that, right?
Yeah.
It's a great book. But I'm like, what's EOS? He says, yeah, it's all based on this book called Traction. And I'm like, wait, I haven't heard of this book. And I'm a little offended because since 1989, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, right? That's 1989 book. I've read a book every quarter or every month since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. You read all the big ones. Good to Great, Built to Last. Yeah.
What's
7
Traction?
Habits. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little offended. Right? What's this book Traction I haven't heard of? Then he follows it with all the stuff you were teaching me out of all those books. It's all in Traction.
Yeah.
Now I call bullshit on that. I'm like, come on, there's no way. So I get Traction. Oh, then he says he's going to introduce me to his implementer, right? To introduce her. Right? But I get Traction. I read it and I'm blown away.
Yeah.
Right? So that
Th-
started my US journey. So that's been
That's
about
amazing.
6
So
years.
that's how you first got introduced to it and then became an implementer yourself and have been implementing and working with teams because it does pull together all those ideas. Doesn't create new ones. It just takes all the ideas that have been around forever and puts them into an operating system,
Yeah.
which is so cool. And what I love about your practice, and you and I, for listeners that don't know, Peter and I have the pleasure of being in a Metro Community Exchange together, so we get to see each other on a regular basis. We other EOS implementers that collaborate and support each other. And what I love about getting to know you is the passion you have for more than just your practice. You're passionate about your practice and about your clients, and that comes through loud and clear. And anybody who spends 5 minutes with you can feel that. But you have another purpose and another calling, which is working with veterans that struggle with PTSD. Let's talk about that because that's what drew me to you. The heart behind that and just the intentionality with on how you go about helping veterans is amazing. So, how did you first get involved in that?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's like I would say EOS I'm going to say this, right? EOS is my purpose, which is right. My purpose is the EOS world or helping leadership teams, right? My passion, right, is helping people, right?
Yeah,
So if you think about your purpose, right, it's about right. It's what is your passion? Mine's helping people. There's no question about that. I've really found that through my life. Um, right. So it's about your passion. It's what are you good at? I think I'm pretty good at. I think I'm pretty good at working with a leadership team in a session room. Um, what does the world need? The world needs EOS, and what will someone be willing to pay you for? So you take those 4 things: purpose, right? Passion, right?
yep,
But my passion is truly helping people. So, one of the things that when I got out of regiment, and when we talk about, when I refer to Rangers, right, we'll talk about the regiment because it's the Ranger Regiment. But when I got out of regiment, back, way back in the, in the late '80s, I struggled with with that, how do I put this in order? The acclimation back into society, into the civilian
Yeah.
world. I really struggled with it. And sure, I went to I went to tech school and met people and all that, but it was different. I was no longer surrounded by these driven, intentional people with a common cause.
Yeah.
So I struggled. I really did. I kind of, I would say it was hard for me. And I started reflecting on that as 9/11 happened, and the Ranger Regiment was in combat the entire time, right? There was not a time when the regiment was not didn't have troops deployed. Um, and I started reflecting on that over time, and trying kind of staying in touch, but just like there's something here, and is there something that I could do to help these young guys that are getting out of the regiment, to help them acclimate, right? So as they get out of the military service, and how can I help them acclimate? So I came up with an idea. I'm going to just invite them all to my farm, right? Now I'm gonna create an event, and I'm going to invite rangers to my farm, right, and their families or whatever. So I knew a few, but not, I knew some rangers. I had some, guys I served with, of course. I've met a few on the way, but I thought I'm gonna create an event for them. So it was 9 years ago now. I think 9 years coming up. It's nine. Yeah, it'll be the ninth year. The ninth anniversary is coming up this
9 years.
August.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal.
So far, but this will be
Yeah.
the ninth year for the event. Yeah. It was we called it the Ranger Shoot Eat Drink. So so Army Rangers like to right. Let's say they're very comfortable with a rifle
All
range.
three of those. Yeah.
Right. And eating, right? I served them all filet mignon because they deserve it because they're Rangers, and we probably drank obnoxious amounts of alcohol to the point of my wife came to the first event and ever since said, "Yeah, no, I don't need to hang out with all you guys." So we do have family members that maybe tougher spouses actually do hang out the whole time, but um, yeah. So so we start doing this event, and you know, the intention and the purpose, my intentionality was to say, how can we help these young guys acclimate? Right. That was what was in my brain. So we had folks from from the Vietnam era, from my era, guys who just recently gotten out, or had gotten out over the '90s or 2000s. So we had a pretty wide spectrum. Probably 20-ish Rangers showed up for that first event. Um, and what I found was it was really a two-way street where the young guys were helping the older guys too. It wasn't like I didn't know. So right, I got out in 1987. I never knew that I was eligible for VA healthcare benefits because I wasn't when I got. I have a disability, but I only thought that it have to be related to that disability. I didn't know
Yeah.
that had changed, right? So like even for me, right, I find this out from these young guys that you can use the VA.
You qualify. Yeah. I mean, there's something is well, not I don't want to say as small as that because that's a big benefit to learn about, but it's supporting each other in the struggle as well, right? I mean, and you've talked to me about I don't know that people fully realize just how much of a struggle it is for veterans struggling with PTSD. You gave me a statistic one time we were talking, and I don't remember it exactly, but it was a comparison of veteran suicide to veterans lost in combat. And can you share that? Do you have that handy?
Oh,
It,
sure. So if like you hear the 22 veterans a day, right? And it's like, okay, 22, that's a pretty
yeah,
big number. Okay, and we think that. And is that the exact number? I'm sure it's not necessarily, right? Um, but when I heard it put this way, it kind of impacted me pretty heavily. It was since 2001, approximately. I'm not going to give you exact numbers, obviously, right? 6,600 soldiers died in combat, right, since 2001. And it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. These are heroes, right? Same time period, 145,000 veterans died by suicide.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's the stat that blew my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about that after you told me that the first time in the scale. And you start to think about the struggle that these heroes and these people that have sacrificed and served for the country are going through, and related to the struggle with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And there is help. Like what you're doing on the farm is enormously helpful. Bringing people together to jointly support each other is consistent with what the Anxiety Resource Center is all about. Not necessarily for veterans. It's about bringing people together that struggle with anxiety disorder and say, we're going to be honest with each other. We're just going to share. We're going to help each other. We're going to lean in. And it's amazing the magic that happens in a group like that. You're doing the same thing, and it's having an impact. 9 years, going on 9 years. What is it? What is it
So,
that? What
yeah,
other?
I'm gonna give you more. I'm gonna take. Do you mind? I want to tell you a story.
Go
Is that
ahead. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so like so initially, right, it was about bringing guys together, right, trying to help the young guys. Found out it was two-way street. Matter of fact, I was sitting at the bar, go figure, right, here on the farm, and there was Vietnam veterans sitting next to a recent Afghanistan veteran, right. Both Rangers, and Rangers are interesting because like it doesn't matter the era. There's like we're so tight. It doesn't matter whether or not we serve together. And the Vietnam veteran was sharing his life story about right. He had been married 4 times. Right, he was successful, but kind of didn't really keep a job very long. Right, he like bounced around until he actually did his own thing. And the young guy looks at him and says, this young ranger looks at him and says, Bill, what's your disability rating? And Bill says 10% for my hearing, because we all have that. Right? We
yeah,
all
yeah,
have. It goes 10% for my hearing, and the young guy looks at me and goes, Bill, everything you just said is PTSD. These are these are the outcomes of what happens with PTSD. You should probably be at 80, if not 100% rated. And
yeah,
Bill jumps up, right? He a thin guy, served in Vietnam as a ranger, which whole nother story on that. Jumps up and says, I got both my legs. I left guys
yeah.
in the bush. I left guys in the bush. I'm not taking away from other people. And that young guy looks at him and goes, Bill, you dumbass. That's not how it works.
That's
You're not
not how.
taking away
Yeah,
from anyone, right?
I
So
love that though. That was his reaction, right? That he felt I don't want to take away benefits from other people, even though he isn't. It wouldn't be, but that was so not self-centered. That was so self-sacrificing, and just that somebody else listening to him recognized the impact or the symptoms or the signs of PTSD. What are some of the signs of PTSD that you see in veterans? Are they are they? Is it panic, trouble sleeping? Like, what? Give us a little bit on this.
all those things. Sullen and withdrawn too, right? Kind of withdraw. Um, it can show up in all kinds of different ways, right? But it's a matter, and I'm not an expert, right? So I'm
Yeah,
not I really am not, and I don't want to proclaim that I am. We did have one ranger who'd been coming from the beginning. I'll use his first name, Jason. Love the man. He's one of those guys that if you go to a bar, you want him on your side, right? Over here, right? Tight end, right? It's like he's your guy, right? You want him on your side. But Jason, you could tell how dark he was. It was dark. The music he listened to, and I'm not saying that just because you listen to dark music, right? I'm not saying that, but right, just and you could see the pain in him, and how he would toast his fallen brothers, and when 9/11 happened, he was a squad leader, and he had lost some of his guys, right? So like guys he was responsible for, so he was carrying his burden, his pain, and it was like you could see it, and because it was just rangers together, and we were able to like talk a little deeper than you would to somebody else. And I worried about Jason, so I would call him every few months and say, Jason, how you doing? And one time I call him, I said, Jason, how you doing? He goes, I'm doing fucking awesome. And I'm like, this guy never talks this way. Never.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
spoken to me.
The
And
optimism was like so out of character.
yes. And I said, Jason, okay, what's changed? And he goes, well, I went down to Tampa or somewhere in Florida, and they did some kind of voodoo thing on me. These were his words. And he goes, it changed my life. I'm like, tell me more. He goes, well, I'm not real sure. He's like, not real sure. I said, Jason, who hooked you up to go there? Tell me that. And he
Yeah.
tells me, another range buddy of ours, Brian. And he says, yeah, Brian through this foundation, through this charity called Hua Inc. was the charity. And so I said, cool, I'll give Brian a call. So I called Brian. Brian said, yeah, well, basically Hua Inc. is helping combat veterans go to a program called Warrior Wellness. So Warrior Wellness is in Hollywood, Florida. Hua Inc. was really taking and like, making sure that they pay for the travel, making the arrangements. Hua Inc. always has a slot open
To get them there and make the logistics. What happens there at Warrior Wellness? What did they do? What's the do?
Yeah, Warrior Wellness was very well funded. So it's more so get people there. And now Warrior Wellness can use a little help too, but at the time they were pretty well funded. So I called Brian and tells me a little bit about it. I said, so how much does it cost? And he goes, well, it costs us about $2,500 to send somebody. I said, okay, cool. So that year I invited my friends and my clients, and we did a fundraiser, did some 50-50 raffles. I got a bluegrass band and a country music singer. I catered it and opened my bar up and had a fun night, heartfelt night, but fun. And we raised $5,000. So we sent 2 people. It's kind of cool. Following year, it was in January of that year. Hear the story that there was a guy, Tap. He had been in during Iraq. In Iraq. In Iraq, hand grenade came into his MRAP vehicle, blew off by his legs, tore his leg up, tore his arm up, tore his side up. He got medevaced out in Vietnam. That he would not have survived, right? But today, battlefield medicine is phenomenal. They were able to stabilize him, get him to Germany to stabilize him more. They saved his arm, saved his leg. After a few months in Germany, they sent him to Walter Reed Army Hospital, where he was able to walk on his leg, able to use his arm again, but he wasn't able to run his leg. So he's going to be out processed. He's not going to be a ranger because you have to be able, hump and gun, right? And use another term, but right, all rangers need to be able to do that. So he was going to get out processed. He voluntarily had his leg amputated, learned how to run on a prosthetic, went back to the Ranger Regiment and said, I want back in. I can run on my leg now. The Ranger Regiment, Command Sergeant Major, matter of fact, Command Sergeant Major said, you're going to have to go back through the Ranger selection process. So he went back through the entire selection process with the prosthetic, become
a ranger again. Yeah.
As a leader in Afghanistan on multiple deployments, I don't know the number, but multiple deployments, right? Even got shot in the prosthetic leg at one point, and he's replacing it. And he looked over at the Command Sergeant Major and said, yeah, one of your fleshies that would have been out of service. So
right? Fleshy.
And he was like Rangers are pretty cool. This dude was like, we put him on a pedestal, right? I mean, this dude was like, it's like really, right? He ended up becoming an instructor at the selection process. I actually know a kid who went through with him, went through while he was while he was
instructor. Yeah.
Yeah. He died by suicide in January of that following year, 3 years ago now. And at that point, I'm like, what are we missing when somebody like that, who's never quit, dies by suicide? So I called Brian back. I said, so who's this Hua Inc. thing?
Yeah.
Who founded it? Tell me a little bit more about this. And Brian says, the guy's name is Bob Sebastian, and he's down in Florida, and blah, blah, blah. And he gives me Bob's number, and I call Bob, and I said, yeah, Bob, I'm just an old ranger. I served in the 80s. And he goes, yeah, me too. I served in the 80s. I said, yeah, I was the 2nd Ranger Battalion. He goes, I was in the 2nd Ranger Battalion. And I go, okay, so I was in Trolley Company. He goes, me too. Okay, now it's getting weird. He goes, I was 2nd Platoon. I said, I was 2nd Platoon with weapons. And he goes, all right, what year exactly hurt you? Turned out he had got hurt and I replaced him. Just a small world, right? So 40 years ago, we served together. And I'm like, you had blonde hair because I remember what else we're working out.
And he was running the Warrior Wellness Program, or Wing. Okay.
And initially started to send care packages to Rangers overseas.
Okay.
He identified the issue with PTS and the suicide and found the Warrior Wellness through whatever. So
Did you get a feel in talking to him or talking to your comrades and buddies that had been through it, and helping to get people there, which you did through fundraising? What are the things that happen when they go to Warrior Wellness? Is it,
Yeah, sure.
is it,
And that's what Bob shared with me then, because that's why I asked for a little detail, right? So why is this different than going to therapy somewhere else?
yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
So what's the reason, right? What was it? And when he told me that, he explained that they use what's called accelerated resolution therapy.
Accelerated resolution therapy. Okay.
And so basically what that is, what it entails is while the individual is processing the trauma, right? So PTSD is not unique to the military, veterans. It's not,
Right.
right? So
Right.
many of us have faced trauma. My PTSD is more from my childhood than it is
Yep.
from my time in service, quite honestly, or right. So many of us have trauma related, right? And so while they're processing the trauma, they're doing rapid eye movement,
Uh-huh.
which literally rewires the brain about that trauma event. They don't forget it. But what does happen is they have a different feeling towards it. They can process it easier or whatever that actually is, right? And so that's the basics to it.
Yeah, that makes total sense because the and I'm not an expert either or a trained professional, but I've been around anxiety enough in my life and my work with the Anxiety Resource Center that every effective treatment is about brain rewiring. So at the root of what you talked about that they're doing through rapid eye movement and through accelerated resolution therapy is retraining the neural pathways, which helps these individuals then start to heal. And that's amazing. I mean, you saw it firsthand, and I'm sure you've seen it firsthand with others that have been through it as well, which is why you continue to raise funds. Is that what your fundraiser every year is still for, is to send people to that program?
Yeah, it's specifically through Hula Inc. So again, because it's a Ranger Foundation, it's not only for Rangers, it's for any veteran at all. And matter of fact, Bob told me this. He says, I don't even care if they're a combat veteran. If it's a veteran suffering, let's send them.
They qualify. Right? Yeah.
He said
that's awesome.
He keeps bugging me to go. I have it, but he goes, man. Oh, you're telling him, okay.
So if folks want to get involved, like if they're listening to us now and they think, man, I would like to help, because the statistic that you gave earlier of death by suicide compared to combat deaths is just staggering. 6,600 to 100, and I can't remember that. Yeah, I mean the magnitude and that puts it.
Or have died by suicide, death by suicide, since this, since 2001. Then soldiers who died in World War One.
That's phenomenal. And so this is a population of people that we owe it all to and gave it all. And we need to lean in and help. So if folks are listening and they would like to help with the fundraiser, how do they get involved? What happens?
Yeah,
what's the
Hua Inc. It's HOOAH.Inc.
Say that one more time for me, Peter.
Hua Inc. So HOOAH.INC.
Got it.
And it's the V22 project is what they call it, the V22 project. There's also, like, if you do the donate, there'll be one that shows Winnie Acres V22, and we run on EOS, and it'll actually show this one. Not that it's like whether or not it goes to that, as long as it goes to V22, we know it's going to help veterans. So so
and they can do it through Winnie Acres, which is your farm where you do coaching and you do your fundraiser. Okay. And if folks want to get a hold of you to find out more, either about EOS or about veterans or helping with PTSD, what's a good way to reach you?
My cell phone, 810-280-3351.
And we'll put these in the show notes so that you have links, both the link to Hua Inc. and Peter's cell phone. Appreciate your time, brother. This is an amazing story. It's full of heart and making a real difference. I mean, we talk about in the U.S., making a big impact, and that's part of the U.S. life. And you're doing it each and every day. I can't tell you how much I respect that and how much I appreciate you being on and sharing your story, and then also, more importantly, conveying the story of suffering veterans and what you're trying to do for them. It's just great work, and it's just been an honor and a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Save one life, Mike. Let's just save one life.
Amazing.
That's the huge thing. Just save one. That's all we have to do. And right, just lean in with love, right? Lean in with love and find help for anyone who you find that's struggling. Don't let it go by. You got to call it out. You got to call it out. And you got to ask, hey, can I get you some help? And if it's a thing you're willing to talk to me, I'd love to talk to him.
I can't say it better than that. And on that note, there is help. There is hope. If you're struggling, reach out to Peter, reach out to the Anxiety Resource Center, reach out to a local expert or a local professional. We love you. We care about you. We want you to get help. And Peter, thanks again. We are going to be back in the near future with another episode of Anxiety Unraveled. Thank you for listening and being part of the show today. Have a great afternoon, everybody.